Hey Rudy, it is John with Get on the Track here. Just doing that data analysis that I told you I'd take a look at and get done for you. So this is from Wednesday when we were at Harris Hill. Felt like we had a really productive day. Couldn't have asked for a better session. Starting out in that wet, in those wet conditions, and then having the track dry out pretty nicely for us gave us a good opportunity to play with the dynamics of the car before we started actually running some relatively fast lap times. Um, Going to do my typical data review here, where we're going to compare the baseline that I set in your car at the end of the day versus your fastest lap of the day, which is a 142.937. I'm actually going to start out by taking a quick look at the overall session progress here because I think it's worth calling out. So again, we had the factor of the wet conditions early on, but we can really see your lap times dropping dramatically here as we go through the day, through that 4 hour session. So the 209, the 205, and the 2 minute, I think it was still relatively comparably wet through those entire times. So we saw some really good gains there, where you're getting more confident with that car, dropping 10 seconds off right through there. It's fantastic. And then literally, so, we can almost see it just happen organically all through here through the second set too, where we saw you set a 149. I call it the second set because I feel like it started to dry out around noon when we were working together. So we were starting to see a dry track when you ran this 149, which then turned into a 144 and ended up finally with the 142 that we're going to do the analysis on. I hope you recognize, honestly, that was fantastic progress, absolutely fantastic. Really getting to learn the car, really starting to drive better, smooth those hands out. It was a really great day to work with you, and I really appreciated that opportunity. So that said, we'll go ahead and dive into the laps and walk through what's happening and where we can make some gains here. Um, so we were relatively limited in the data that we could pull off your car, just due to the ECU. Some of the more modern ECUs, when I'm using the OBD2 port, they limit me for the data fields that we can pull. I love to get brake pressure and steering angle, but in this case, it looks like we're only able to pull the throttle position. So that's still a pretty valuable piece of data. And then, of course, we've got the RPMs, we've got our GPS speed, and then I grabbed the GPS latitude acceleration in there as well. So that gives us an idea how much grip we're generating from the car. And then finally, we've got the time comparison. And I find this useful because it'll show you where along the track the big gains are made. So every time that we see a significant drop here, like in this section here, we know that there were big gains made between your lap and my lap, and we can focus on those and target those for the next session. So we'll take a quick look here. I'm going to go ahead and dial in and start off in kind of the right place, which is turn one. So we're going to take a look in here. We can dial in. We got this nice Google Maps integration. So again, you're the 142, which is the green line. And I'm actually going to change that to a blue line. Hopefully you're not offended by that. So we're going to use a blue line rather than that green line to get a little bit better visibility here on what's happening. So coming through here, you can see, I think the GPS is a little off here because I'm fairly confident we weren't actually out in the field here when we were driving. But if you take a look here, the difference between the two of us, I'm carrying a slightly, wow, this is really pretty bad here, to be honest with you. I'm a little disappointed because usually this is better. We must have had a bad signal that day or something, but we can at least get an idea of what's happening with the curves. And I want to call that out here. So coming into here, we're going to see, we'll see a few things. So I'm going to go ahead and start on the back straight as we're leading in. We'll do that right here. So we can see front straight rather. I'm misnamed that. I got to apologize. So here, take a look at the differences in our speeds, right? So I'm carrying a lot more throttle through here. And you can see that with the throttle position, although you go to it very hard right there. So again, oh, I go to it very hard there. And that's likely because I'm carrying a little bit more speed through. I'm likely carrying a little bit more speed into the entry, and I am. So you see about a 10-mile-an-hour difference at the maximum before turn in here. But you see, let's take a look. So we've got throttle position. What I'm curious to see is, yeah. All right. So I carry the arc that I carry here, and I want to focus in on this. Even though this is way off in terms of the location, I'm coming through here. I am the red line, and you can see I get tighter into that apex. So I believe this is shifted over probably 10 feet. So I get tighter into the apex here, and then I let the car run wider here rather than pinching it on the exit to one. I saw you doing that pretty frequently, where you would hold the car in rather than making use of all the track over here. The key to the transition between turn one and turn two is to make sure that you get very close to this apex in turn one, and then utilize however much track the car needs. The faster you go, the more track that car is going to use. And just make sure that you brake enough leading into turn one that you aren't obviously running out in the field here. So we can work on that and build confidence and bring that car out there and use that track as needed and build speed to get in there. And then in here, if you watch, you're going to see me apply the brake very hard. And we can see that by how this line right here, my speed line, drops dramatically versus yours. So I hit the brakes pretty hard and come off. I think if we were able to see your brake pressure graphs, you carry the braking a little bit longer, but you aren't using the same amount of pressure that I use. So I go to the brakes harder and faster than you, but it's still a smooth motion. It's not a jab. I want to make sure that we aren't stabbing at the brake, but I ramp it up and push it hard so that it's a smooth application that then ends up being heavy braking. So I bleed more speed than you do early in the corner. And then from there, I start accelerating hard. And you can see this area under the gap here is how I'm making up time on you. I am any area under the curve for speed, I'm gaining time on you. So coming through here, I think we're both, I'm grabbing another gear too. So it's worth calling out. If you look at the RPMs, I'm dropping the car down, I believe, into third here. And then you're letting the car run through here. And then as I shift, you catch back up to me. So that's just something worth noting there. And then we're coming in here. This is coming into turn four, right? So we exit turn three. We'll take a look at turn three. Again, I'm not really pleased with how the GPS looks here, but I think where the lines run are consistent. So you're carrying a wider line through here, which actually isn't necessarily a bad thing. I don't need to be that tight here. So you could be good here, but I think what you'd want to do, and let's go take a look here. What happens here is you can see that I'm going to the throttle a little bit more aggressive, well, a lot more aggressively than you. I'm at full throttle after the apex and letting that car run and really rip through there. And then you see my throttle drop off. This is my shift here. And then I pick it back up and you can see it run. And then going into turn four, you can see how my throttle starts to drop off a little bit. Honestly, that throttle plot from you is better than mine. You drop off with a lot more confidence than I do, versus I'm kind of just lazily coming off that throttle as I turn that car in there. Arguably, we both could be carrying that throttle a little bit further and then going to the brakes a little bit harder. If I was really trying to get a fast lap from your car, I would be doing that and running a little harder. Here you see, and this will be a consistent pattern, I go to the brakes again a little bit harder and more forcefully than you after getting a little bit higher top speed. So I managed to get to 94, I'm trying to see if I can get trying to see if I can get to 95, but I got to 94 there. And then you see me bleed speed off as I come through turn 4. And then I'm carrying speed through here, and I'm likely carrying brake pressure too before I start to apply that throttle. You do see I am carrying a little bit of throttle mid speed, mid corner through here. But if you look, what's interesting is you come into the corner with more speed than me. And we talked about this a little bit. The mantra that we want to repeat is slow in and fast out. So I bleed off more speed than you do early in order to be able to get that car to turn and rotate. And you can kind of see on the line here, again, I don't know how accurate these are, but I come in and I use, and this is worth noting because I did see you doing this relatively frequently while you're out there. Even though this didn't overlay very well with the track, it may have been a bad GPS signal. One of the things that happens is I let the car come out to the left a little bit. It's not a lot, but I probably come out to about mid track when I exit turn 4, whereas you were kind of hugging the line and carrying a straight line through here. And what that allows me to do, and you can see it on the curve on the graph here, is it allows me to carry more corner or more speed all the way through that corner, right? So I've got a separation of 3 to 4 miles an hour all the way going down to the entry to turn 5. And then again, you can see I'm taking a slightly wider line out on turn 5, and then I dial it in and carry it down to that apex. Again, I'm a little bit frustrated with the GPS data here because it doesn't look as accurate as it should be. But we do see, and Mikey and I talked about this, I'm carrying a tighter line through here, and watch the throttle application too, right? So this is being patient on that throttle. So you're going to the throttle before the apex right here. If you see that blue line, that's you ramping up throttle pressure while I'm waiting. And look at the difference between and I'll actually zoom in on this to make it a little bit clearer for us. Look at the difference in how we apply the throttle and what happens. So again, we'll get in here, right? So you watch me, very little bit of throttle in here. That's literally just maintenance throttle, letting the car come through. I'm not going gas yet. But here you've turned that car in, and then you said, oh, I'm going to the throttle, and you've committed to that throttle. And so you ramped up to 100% throttle here. You're ramped up. I'm still waiting. I've got that patience because I want to go slow in. But then if you watch, just about as I get to that apex, and even a little bit before that apex cone, I can guarantee it's a little bit before there, boom, I slam that throttle open, and then I am full throttle while you're starting to give it up. And you can take a look at it on the plot here, right? So you're starting to, your speed, even though I came in here faster, you're reducing that speed. You're using this period here to try to gain speed on me, to try to open up that throttle and really gain, but then you give it up again. Well, and actually, sorry, it's more importantly right here where you start to go full throttle, and then you're like, okay, I'm on it. And then you catch up to me, and then you have to release that throttle because you're coming out wide. So the difference in the line choice here, me getting the car in tight and holding it in there for a little bit longer and giving up the throttle, giving up the throttle early in that corner allows me to go throttle hard later. I also grabbed a downshift here. So if you take a look, I'm in third there. So I'm getting better drive out of the car as well. And you can see that on the speed differential here, right? So I'm literally almost 10 miles an hour faster than you down that kind of we'll call it the back straight, because honestly, this is a straightaway. So carrying it through. And you see as I come through, let's take a look here. I think I may have wussed out a little bit, and I won't. So you're gonna see I'm gonna wuss out a little bit here in terms of you see me drop the throttle before I enter into turn 6 rather, that high speed bend. But let's take a look at our lines here too. So I'm getting a little bit closer to that apex. Again, crappy GPS signal, but I'm getting closer to that apex than you, just marginally. It is a fine difference, but it's probably 4 or 5 feet. So I get in there, which makes that curve a little bit bigger, a little bit wider. It opens up that arc. so that I can proceed to carry more speed through that corner, right? I'm still 5, 6 miles an hour faster than you all the way through there. And then it's not until we get through the corner and exit that apex that you then start coming up on me. Now, I'm going to go ahead and give you credit here, because one thing that you're doing, and I told you to do this and I didn't do it, is you're dropping off the throttle a little bit there. Again, you're in blue, so you drop off the throttle a little bit, but then you go back on it. If you'd stayed on it right here, we would have seen this gap close up nicely here. But you're getting on it and then you're staying on it all the way through here. So frankly, that's doing a better job than me. I again, your car isn't mine, so I likely wasn't pushing it quite as hard as I could. I was just trying to set a good baseline lap for you. But if I wanted to try to cut time off of that 134 and run closer to, say, a 132 or a 130, you would see me carrying throttle harder through that midsection there, and even out and through here. And then you'd see, if we had that map, I'd be hitting the brakes very hard here. All right, I'm going to zoom out and then zoom us back in over here on this side. So we've gone through the first half of that course. Not a huge fan of how this zooms, but there we go. All right, cool. Okay, so this will give us a nice run coming through 6. So you see that our speeds start to close together. And then here, you're doing a pretty good job of braking, to be honest with you, because if you watch, you come through here, and then I'm going to give you a little bit of crap, because this is the one place where, if you watch, you're not quite braking hard enough into here. And let's take a look and see if we get a good difference in lines. So if you take a look, right, again, I'm red. I'm coming out a little bit wider, and then I get tighter in here. If you look again, GPS is crappy, but I'm probably 4 to 5 feet inside of you here. Inside. And then I let the car out and run the full width of the track rather than forcing the car back. And what that allows me to do is if you watch, we come down and our speeds, you're coming in with a little bit more speed than I am, and then our speeds match just before the apex. And then if you watch, right, again, I'm in the red. Watch me, I wait. So I'm applying the throttle here, right? But then as I go past the apex, because I've changed that line and I've given up a little bit of speed, I've gotten the car rotated around that corner more, which allows me to apply that throttle and go full throttle through here. And then watch how that speed separation occurs, right? That's 4 miles an hour. Now we're up to, well, 4. It's still 4 miles an hour all the way through here. And then we'll watch me come through here. And this is one place actually going into turn 8, which is called the dam turn, because there's a dam there. I enjoy this because if you look, I think Mikey and I were talking about this. So I carry a slightly tighter line through here because I find that there's more grip staying to the inside here. And you can also see it in terms of my speed, right? So all the way through that turn, you can see that I'm carrying more speed. 8, 9, that was actually 11 miles an hour. And so you need to start initiating that turn. So we were talking about this here, right? And I think you almost can see, I was gonna say that I felt like you could almost see this. Again, is exaggerated. I'm a little bit closer into the left versus where this is, just due to that GPS data, but you're running a slightly wider line here, and your turn isn't as smooth as it could be. I wish we had the steering angle sensor. So if you recall, like there was you're hesitating to turn, and then you were making a bigger turn here and cutting that arc more closely, where I'm just carrying a more gradual arc in here. So you're turning more within here than I am here, and that's allowing me to stay on that throttle through that corner here. If you take a look through here, right, like I've got a little bit more speed through there, and there's some off and on throttle there, but it is allowing me, that line is allowing me to carry that extra there. It's almost 20 miles an hour worth of speed differential. And so that's where that time difference comes into play. And that's what really adds up over time. So let's zoom in on the last half of the course here. All right, going into 9. That should should put us in a pretty good spot. All right. So we've gone through, actually, let me get, all right, there we go. So we're coming through 9 and then 8 into 9. I guess that's counting one more corner than I am. All right, so we get through here. All right, screw it. We're going to zoom in on turn 10 so I can get, all right, show me where we're at. Okay. Okay, cool. All right, so here we come through the dam turn. That is funny that it has that listed as 11, but regardless, we're coming through here and you see, again, I'm the red line. So again, you see some pause here in terms of I'm carrying, like if we talk about area under the curve, I'm carrying moderate kind of maintenance throttle through here, which is giving me that speed differential. And you're whacking open the throttle just prior to the apex, which isn't too bad, but it is forcing you to give throttle up here. Whereas what I'd prefer to see is you ramping up on smooth, slow throttle here, and then maxing it out where I maxed it out right there. And then that's going to allow you a better exit speed. You are gaining ground on me here. You probably, part of it is probably the when you went full throttle back here, the turbo spooled, and we're letting it rip through here, especially at those RPM levels. So you're letting it rip. It's moving. You're closing in on me from a speed differential perspective, and then here I'm thinking we'll probably see. I would carry more throttle here if I was gonna make this a truly hot lap, but I'm coming through there at 86 miles an hour, and that's just finding that confidence in that car for that handling and that cornering as we come through that long sweeper 9 right-hander. And then we see here, and again, we're going to see me pulling some slow. This is the slow in, fast out. Watch my braking. I drop the speed. This was likely a downshift. And then you got the downshift in there as well. So I had a little bit of heel toe going on, but then you see me drop the speed early and get that car slowed down. So right here, you're going 9 miles an hour faster than I am, whereas I'm slowing the car down. And then I've got that downshift in place, and you see my throttle goes open even before the apex as I exit that. And I have to give up a little bit, like I'm talking about it right now, right? Like that slow in, fast out. Here, I recognize that I carried a little bit too much throttle in. I gave up a little bit and then back on it. But again, that massive area under the curve here is where what allowed me to carry that extra 5 miles an hour. And now we're at, that was way more than 5, sorry. So no, all right, cool. So here I'm up to 7 miles an hour, 8, and here coming through the sweeper as I enter turn 11, you can see I'm carrying some relatively good speed through there. All right, so I'm going to zoom this out for one final crack at turn 11. And you can see it looks like you shifted a little bit before me. You did a little bit more of a short shift, whereas I let the car run out a little bit. You can see that throttle where both of us, you shifted here and then I shifted here. But overall, pretty good. You can see you're on the throttle pretty well. There was a little bit of a lift here where you were probably trying to figure out where we were going and then back on it. And again, it's just all of that speed differential is where that difference in time comes. So you can see I'm carrying 5 miles an hour more than you, 4 miles an hour more than you coming out onto that straightaway. It's all those little differences, but then we're 4 miles an hour, 3 miles an hour. So coming down that back straight, you're doing really well, and you're carrying, front straight, you're carrying some pretty good speed. So overall, it's good stuff. You're making gains. You're finding more confidence in the car. Like you said, this isn't something that you just jump in and you are a F1 driver. We're pushing it. We're finding the limits of your car and getting it a lot closer to. You're getting a lot closer to those limits. I definitely feel like we're going to make solid gains in the next session. I truly believe that we'll have you into the 130s, solidly into the 130s with the next session, and hopefully that makes you happy. So great work. Look forward to catching up, hopefully before November 7th when you head out to Argentina. And let me know if you got any questions.